Joining us in a special News Minute interview is former Telangana Minister, working President of BRS, Mr. KT Rama Rao. Sir, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Pooja. Thank you for having us.
I'll start with, since this is your first interview after the Assembly election, what went wrong?
What went wrong? We've had enough and more time now for the last 4.5 months to think about it.
Yeah.
I think a couple of things. See, if you look at the total results, the difference was hardly 1.8%, right? In case you want to look at the larger arithmetic of the total polled votes, it's about 4,30,000 votes or so, right? So it isn't like a huge margin. And also, we were not routed. We won 39 out of 119, which is 1/3. And then we lost
50 seats.
We lost 14 seats by a whisker. So we were short by, I think, about 10 seats. So it isn't like a huge setback or we were thrown out like ruthlessly or anything. For a third term, I would say it wasn't bad. But yes, of course, it is not the result we wanted or expected. I think 2-3 things. One, the primary thing I can think of is there was a toxic social media campaign which really did a lot of damage, which we, of course, possibly underestimated and sort of undermined. The second thing I'd say is probably a bit of anti-incumbency, I think, also. And third thing and most important thing, if you ask me, is probably, the management between perception and reality. So reality was that we were probably one of the best performing states in the country. But the perception that got created across, the different sections of the society was that, we weren't faring as well as we were supposed to. For instance, just to give you 2 examples, Telangana employees are the highest paid employees in the country. We actually,
as a government
employees. So 73% was the hike that was given to them in the course of 10 years, which is higher than in fact, some of them received salaries that are higher than the central government employees. But the fact that they were not getting their salaries on day one of a month, beginning of the month, kind of, I think, dented their confidence and sort of, put them in a spot of bother, and which possibly created a bit of a rift between the employees and us. This was one section which was rock solidly with us back in the days of agitation for Telangana.
Yeah.
So that's one section we kind of lost just because of a minor reason. Second section I can think of is the youth and unemployed. These guys who were with us again through thick and thin during the agitation, we just could not communicate to them that we were the only state in the country which completed nearly 200,000, which is 2 lakh, employment in public sector. Again, the rumor mills doing the rounds that, we didn't do enough. There was a leakage of, paper, etc., etc. That actually took center stage. And the fact that we actually completed 2 lakh recruitment, which was the highest for, again, any state in the country.
But wasn't a majority of that in the Home Department? That is because of police recruitment. In education, in health, the recruitment wasn't on par with what was in your own performance before.
No. I'm talking about the entire government at large. See, 200,000 cuts across various departments, including electricity, home, medical and health, etc., etc. We were able to complete 1,60,283 recruitment during our tenure. And then about 30,000 was stuck in a limbo through some judicial, in some litigations, which have now been cleared. And now Revanth Reddy claims that he's given out those jobs which were, for which the exams were conducted during our tenure. But the fact is, the point I'm trying to make is, we could not convince the kids here that this is a state that really delivered on the promise of 95% reservation for locals by statute, through President of India's assent. And this is a state which has done exceptionally well in public sector recruitment. So these 2 sections which were emotionally with us during the agitation, we unfortunately lost out. Just to give you an example. And then there are several other reasons as well, which possibly, for example, farmers. We've done a lot for farmers in Telangana, but they were lured away by Congress with one simple promise, that is a 2 lakh loan waiver in one go, which of course did not happen. So, yeah, a number of such reasons.
Communication was the problem?
Absolutely. That's also, again, not so much as communication, but probably the perception that we were not accessible, the perception that we were not communicating enough. I think that was a problem. Not so much as a communication per se, because every day in the digital media, the Chief Minister's office, the Minister's offices were releasing, reports on what was happening and what was being done. But I guess the perception that got created that, these guys are inaccessible also did do some damage.
Yeah, because your party came from protest, from the grassroots. So somewhere the fact that the chief minister in the face of the party, your father, Mr. KCR, was not as much in public view. Do you think somewhere that created a distance between you and the electorate?
It's quite possible. I will not deny that. It's quite possible. I guess in today's world, especially in the social media world that we live in, I think what matters is not what you really do, but also what you appear to do.
Yeah.
I think like Prime Minister Modi, who basically has not done diddly squat, but gets away with murder just because he's seen every day to be doing something. I don't know what he's doing, but at least it appears like he's doing something.
Last question on this segment. The fact that you rebranded yourself as BRS, right? Do you think somewhere that also impacted? Because that personal touch that the voter had with your party.
No, I don't attribute a great deal of importance to the transition from Telangana Rashtra Samithi to Bharat Rashtra Samithi, because see that was a natural process, natural growth for a party. We have done very well in Telangana. We wanted to expand our horizons. We wanted to make a foray into other states, which we could not have done with the name Telangana Rashtra Samithi. So we had to change. So that I don't think that was the biggest problem. But I think again, communication, helping people understand that, explaining to them to understand that your party, your home base, your homegrown party is now growing big, and making them probably take a bit of pride out of that would have helped. Probably, like you said, communication, explaining to them why it had to be done. Probably we could have done a better job in hindsight.
The national expansion plans are still on?
Well, for now, I think it's important that we win back our home base. So I think our temporary hold is what I would say, because I think now we are only contesting Telangana, the 17 seats here, hoping to win as many as we can, and then probably recoup from there.
I won't ask you what your number is, because let's not.
No, why don't I share that?
Please.
Last time we had won 9, so hoping to better that.
Okay. So what's your narrative?
Narrative is pretty simple. I mean, there is nothing that the Congress and BJP have done to the people of Telangana in the last 10 years. I mean, if I were to be honest, there isn't a lot these two national parties have achieved for the country at large either in the last 76 years. I'm not saying this with any kind of bitterness or any kind of acrimony towards them, but the fact is, we as a country have been let down by these two parties, because out of the 76 years, these two parties have been given chances to govern the nation for almost 7+ decades. And if you look at a country like China, just to give you an example, because in terms of size, in terms of economies, in terms of a lot of things, we are quite similar. 1989, China and India were of the same size as an economy. But today, if you look back, 35 years later, China has really galloped and is now 6 times larger economy than India. So who do we attribute this, lack of progress or lack of, growth to? I think it has to be to the two national parties. And also, what's even more important, if you ask me, from a regional perspective, from a state perspective, is in the last 10 years, the BJP did not even deliver a single educational institution to Telangana. The BJP could not, in fact, they've scrapped, several projects that were set to kickstart in Telangana, like the Information Technology Investment Region, the ITIR. Hyderabad was scrapped. Even, National Handloom Institute, which was supposed to, take shape in erstwhile Andhra Pradesh, which was supposed to be in this part of the state, was scrapped. And also the promises made in the AP Reorganization Act, not a single one was implemented. For instance, a coach factory was supposed to come up in Warangal, not happened. An integrated steel factory was supposed to be set up in Bayaram. Industrial corridors were supposed to be set up in Telangana and Andhra Pradesh. Neither of them materialized for us, in neither states, I mean. And also special incentives were supposed to be given for industries to be set up in these two states. None of these happened. And most importantly, if you ask me, again, 10 years, Narendra Modi ji's government was so apathetic to our plight in Telangana. When there were floods in Musi in Hyderabad here, not a single rupee of assistance. When we wanted to expand our metro, Hyderabad, not a single rupee of assistance. In fact, what we got back from them, even my sister state, Andhra Pradesh, when they wanted to build their own capital, zero assistance. So therefore, it leaves us, with a bitter taste in the mouth when it comes to BJP and NDA's performance in the last 10 years.
Since you mentioned this, there's a chorus in Tamil Nadu, Maharashtra, Karnataka as well, that investment is being diverted to Gujarat
Of
by
course.
the Modi government. Since you were very much invested in bringing investments, did you see this happen? I don't want you to take names if you can't, but did businessmen confide in you
Oh,
saying
absolutely. In fact, several of them have been arm twisted. Arm twisted. I'm using this word
that? How?
extremely carefully. I'll give you an example. I don't want to name names because that
Sure.
will get them into trouble.
Sure.
I'll give you two examples, in fact. One was an instance where, a large multinational company wanted to set up its, large manufacturing facility here because their R&D is here in Hyderabad. And for them, it made sense because, having both these bases in one location where they were already happy and had a great congenial, relationship with the government and the people here. They were arm twisted by way of PLI, the production linked incentive scheme that was launched by Government of India. They were told very bluntly that only if you go to Gujarat will you get this. Otherwise, there's enough competition. There are other people who are probably going to outwit you in this race. So the only choice is Gujarat. So they had to. And this happened not to one but two companies that I know who I was pursuing in the semiconductor industry. And the second thing I'll also mention to you, this government is so lopsided when it comes to understanding and even coming out with schemes in the national interest. When Defense Industrial Production Corridor was launched, I went to Mrs. Sitaraman, who was the defense minister then. I requested her, ma'am, what would make perfect sense is a corridor between Hyderabad and Bangalore, because these two cities have traditionally been powerhouses when it comes to defense PSUs, and the distance is hardly 600 kilometers, and then we have vast tracts of, huge swaths of land that we could leverage for this, because these two cities have a brilliant ecosystem. And then we could develop Andhra in between, we could develop the really backward Mahbubnagar district, etc. She said the decision has already been made. I said, on what basis? She wouldn't divulge, of course, but she said it will be in Bundelkhand. I said, what is in Bundelkhand? How do you want the country to progress if you take this to an area where basically there's no ecosystem? How do you basically plan on hit the ground running? She said, no, the decision has been made. Completely dismissive. So what unfortunately happens when it comes to this government is it is the political considerations that outweigh the economic logic and economic common sense, which if it were to actually take center stage, then it would be between Hyderabad, Bangalore, or at least Hyderabad, Chennai. Unfortunately, what I would say about this government, especially in Delhi, is that they just don't seem to get it, and they are completely obsessed with numbers, obsessed with where they'll get their next election from. That's the way they think.
What do you think of Prime Minister Modi's language? Just yesterday, was it today, he also called Muslims jihadists.
It's atrocious. It's atrocious. What I think is even more atrocious is the Election Commission of India just completely being mute on this, because it's a shame. The whole, I think it's time we stop calling ourselves a democracy now, because the charade that we put up that there's free and fair elections and we are a democracy, the world's largest, etc., etc. Not only to Prime Minister Modi, but Home Minister Amit Shah campaigns with Lord Sri Ram's photo. No objection to that. Arun Gobil campaigns, the actor who played Sri Ram in Sri Ramji in Ramayan. Even him campaigning, that is not stopped. Likewise, I can go on. There's a number of instances where the party in governance right now, the BJP, has flouted the model code of conduct, probably hundreds of times. Not a single instance where the Election Commission of India could summon the courage and question them. So therefore, I would like to believe that there is no free and fair election anymore. Election Commission of India today has silenced our leader for 48 hours just because there was an emotional outburst from him, calling the Congress an not performing government here when it comes to farmers and weavers issues. But I don't see the same thing happening for any other leader, either in Congress or BJP. So I don't understand how the Election Commission of India expects us to believe this is a free and fair.
Not just Election Commission, there's also a shadow of doubt on ED, CBI.
Oh, there is no doubt on that at all.
Yeah.
They're all part of the alliance. They're all part of the NDA alliance, ED, CBI, IT. I think these guys are already part of the alliance. I think after the retirement of the respective heads of these agencies, they'll all be recognized and rewarded with Rajya Sabha memberships and other plum posts, which typically we've been witnessing. I mean, retired Chief Justice of Supreme Court of India, who gives out the verdict on Ram Mandir, he's given Rajya Sabha membership right after he relinquishes. So, there's so many other instances. I'm not saying that the judgment itself is wrong. All I'm saying is, what happens to the cooling off period? What happens to, justices who are supposedly, immediately available for a plum post within the government? So therefore, it raises lots of doubts. It raises lots of suspicions. It really makes you wonder, about the institutional sanctity.
This brings me to the question of your sister, K Kavitha. One, how is the family coping? Two, do you worry that electorally some people seem to think that there's no smoke without fire, because there's been a consistent build-up even in the media about the Delhi excise scam?
I can just tell you one thing. See, Delhi excise scam, as they call it, is basically a Delhi excise policy that was approved by cabinet of the government of Delhi, which was later on signed actually by Lieutenant Governor. Then he retracted, of course. He went back, and then they started calling it a scam. Purportedly there was kickbacks of 100 crores. This is the entire scam as it is being alleged. Now, much before ED or CBI talks about it, the BJP MPs start talking about it. Parvesh Sharma and others. I don't know how they get the wind of all the documents that there are within ED and CBI offices. Maybe they have a hotline, I don't know. And then the BJP starts building up the case in the public domain. And later, the institutions step in. And eventually, they search everything that belongs to Kavitha and all others accused in this case. Not a single rupee they're able to recover from anywhere. Apparently, there was 100 crore that there was. And ED goes to Supreme Court and says the same thing. There is 100 crore, there was 100 crore, but we don't know where it is now, etc., etc. So, it's basically, Pooja, a case of he said, she said.
There's no money trail that they could establish.
There is no money trail. There is not a single rupee that has come into Kavitha's account or has been found to be given by Kavitha to anybody who's accused or a witness in this case. And most importantly, I would say, if a policy of a government can be questioned and it can be tweaked to make it sound like a scam, let me ask you two questions. Cannot every single NDA government's policy be also questioned? Their airport policy, their coal import policy, every single policy of government of India for that matter has benefited one man. That is Mr. Gautam Adani. Now, tomorrow when Mr. Modi will relinquish his post, if somebody orders an inquiry into the coal import policy and call it a scam because the one person who got benefited from this whole policy was Mr. Gautam Adani, would you call it a scam or not? I guess that's the question. If somebody tomorrow digs deeper and says the airport policy was tweaked to suit Mr. Gautam Adani and then there were kickbacks which unfortunately can't be found, tracing it back to BJP or, the top leaders of BJP, is it a scam? Something very similar here. What's even more atrocious is the kind of draconian powers that have been conferred, by legislature, by statute, to an authority like ED. Today, you can arrest anybody. You don't have to produce any proof, any ounce of proof. Not even a single rupee, has been traced. But bail is refused, even to a sitting chief minister. I'm saying, will a chief minister of a state escape the country without anybody noticing? Is that even possible? Is that even remotely possible? So the thing is, there is perception versus reality, like I was saying. Now the trial is happening more in the media and less in, I think, in the courts. I think that is something that is going to, of course, play out and take its own toll.
Do you fear that she may be kept in jail till after elections, at least for?
Well, I have no doubt in my mind. I have no doubt in my mind that the whole idea of incarceration of these leaders was to basically keep them away from campaign and to basically use it in the elections. That is the primary motto, because when the case goes to trial, everybody knows nothing will be proven. Even the enforcement directorate, for that matter, their track record when it comes to conviction is abysmal. I think it's 0.39% or some ludicrous number. So therefore, the only thing that they are trying to accomplish is basically to tarnish the image of our leader KCR and of our party and of course of Arvind Kejriwal ji and his party.
Last couple of questions. One is electoral bond. Your party, though you had presence primarily in one state, was the fourth highest benefiter. Now, I'll give you two examples why it seems like quid pro quo. One is, there is suspicion around the time when the hetero group gave 120 crores to BRS, and the head of that group was made a Rajya Sabha MP, nominated to Rajya Sabha from your party. So, questions of whether that money was for nomination, number one. Number two was Megha. They won huge projects under your government, and they have, apart from BJP, they've given most of their donations to you. So, were they
Pooja, let me tell you this. Firstly, when electoral bonds, as a legislation that was passed by Parliament, by an act of Parliament, first we have to remember it was absolutely, the highest democratic platform of this country, sanctifying that you can seek donations from the corporate world, from anybody that is willing to give you a donation. So it was sanctified by the Parliament.
It was legal, yes.
It was legal, firstly. Let's understand the premise.
Yeah.
It was much later, after the donations were received, after the money was in the bank, then the Supreme Court has said it is possibly illegal, right? So you have to understand the difference here. When donations were made to every single political party in the country, I don't think anybody is exempt. I don't think any political party in this country, probably one or two maybe, who have said no to donations.
CPIM said no, and they went to court.
Yeah, which is good for them, I guess. So every other political party in the country has been a recipient. Forget the quantum, who's received how much. Of course, parties in power have received more.
Why is that?
Of course,
is it for favors?
Let me tell you then. See, the first and foremost party in the total list is BJP. Second is Congress, and the third I think is TMC, and then fourth is BRS. The fact that these parties, see, we've had national ambitions, all of us. TMC had national ambitions, BRS had national ambitions, Trinamool had national ambitions, and Congress and BJP, of course, are in the race. So these parties, the four parties which had national ambitions, have received more. Because we wanted to make a foray into other states, and we wanted to grow, so we've received more money, I think, compared to a regional party. I don't think that can be questioned. Now, if you ask me, was there a quid pro quo? Hetero you mentioned. Let me tell you, the gentleman who runs Hetero, Mr. Parthasarathy Reddy, has been known to us for the last 20 years, not now. So he's been donating to us consistently for the last 20 years. It is nothing new. Electoral bonds is something that has come up recently. And as part of that, he may have given some money.
But the timing is just before and just after his nomination.
I'm telling you openly that he's been donating to us for the last 20 years. There's nothing.
So you're saying it's a coincidence that it was
around the nomination?
Anything.
I'm not even saying anything. I'm saying he's not a new donor. He's not somebody who's come in now. He's been donating and he's been supporting us for the last 20 years. That's one thing I'd like to clarify. Secondly, I'd say, and Megha group you mentioned. Megha has donated to every single political party in the country. Now, if you want to do a pro rata, I can't help you. But I can tell you that they have donated to Congress, they have donated to BJP, they have donated to YSRCP, they have donated to TMC, and I think they have donated to everybody.
But they've given a big chunk to you, and they Hyderabad-based, and they got Kaleshwaram and other projects in the government.
You've answered your own question there, Hyderabad-based.
But did they get the money to get the project? It's a straight question.
It's a straight answer also. See, they have given money to everybody. So if you're accusing us that they've given us money because they got a project here, then why did they give the money to Congress?
But they did not. Did they give it to you for the project, or was there no question?
So all the money that I've received, are you now making a claim that each of them have gotten something in return for whatever they've donated to us?
Possibly.
No.
We don't know.
That's what I'm saying. No.
Okay.
See, political parties in this country since 1952 have been funded by business houses, have been funded by their party leaderships, their party leaders, kith and kin of the leaders, etc., etc. That's how political parties are funded in this country. Even the United States, for a minute, they give it a very nice name called lobbyist. What is lobbying? Essentially, again, the quid pro quo angle that you're trying to bring in is what happens there too. All the big corporates in the United States actually fund both Democratic Party and Republican Party. Would they be benefited later on, or would they donate, with the idea, or at least with the inkling that they will possibly seek a favor at a later stage? Possibly, yes. I'm not going to deny that. When you are donating to a political party, maybe as an individual you've donated to, for example, Pooja has donated to somebody as an individual. But Pooja, if you are heading a corporate house, if you're making a donation, there's a difference.
Correct.
That's exactly what I'm drawing. So if there is a corporate house which has made a donation, maybe they wanted a favor, but maybe they got it absolutely in a legitimate fashion. So how do you draw the distinction? Where do you draw the distinction? The group that you mentioned, Mega, they are doing a business in 28 different states in India.
Sure.
And they are also working across the world.
Yeah.
So I think they're entitled, they're qualified to basically compete and get projects everywhere and anywhere where they are qualified.
Okay, my last question is on Rohit Vemula. Just today there was a report submitted where it says that one, he was not a Dalit, and two, he was bad at studies, which was contradictory.
I've not heard of this.
And third, it says that it wasn't, he was afraid that his caste status will come out, which is why he killed himself. Now, the reason I'm asking you this question
First of all, I'm hearing about it for the first time. I don't know.
Okay. Now, the reason I'm asking you this is majority of the probe in the last 8 years happened under your government.
Like I said, first time I'm hearing about this is now.
Okay.
I don't even know
Was
what
there
this
any
is.
pressure from your government on the DC?
This is the first time I'm hearing about it. I thought this issue was something that was, I think, when did this happen? Like 5-6 years ago?
2016.
So yeah, it has been a while. I'm completely unaware. And like I said, I'm
But
hearing
there's
about
no
it for the
political interference under your government on
I am
the
hearing about
officials?
it for the first time. So I do not know what you're talking about. I don't even know what report you're alluding to. So therefore, I can't answer.
Sure. Thank you very much for your time.
This election season, your right to choose puts you at the heart of it again.
We'd like to be your eyes and ears.
Choose the journalism and media that serves democracy and you.
Simply log on to newslaundry.com/2024 election fund and choose an amount of your choice for the reports of your choice.